Greetings viewers. This video will form part of a series which I'm going to be producing on the pro-Islamist and incidentally anti-Muslim agenda of the Australian establishment. I'd originally hoped to start with an introduction and discuss various other issues first. However, something that has just suddenly come up very recently is the Australian government's recognition of what really is a province of Serbia, but if the global ruling elite have their way, will become the so-called Republic of Kosovo. Going to the website of the Foreign Minister of Australia, the Honourable Stephen Smith MP, Minister for Foreign Affairs. He did a media release on the 19th of February. Australia recognises the Republic of Kosovo. It says here, Australia has today formally recognised the Republic of Kosovo as an independent state. Kosovo declared independence on the 17th of February 2008. Australia respects the decision of the people of Kosovo. The United States and the United Kingdom have also indicated their recognition of Kosovo's new sovereignty, and a number of others are expected to do so soon. And here we get into the public relations bit. It has been a long and difficult road to peace for Kosovo. I didn't realise that Kosovo was at peace, but anyway. Since the devastating conflict in the late 1990s. The United Nations and NATO have worked tirelessly since 1999 to assist in setting up self-governing institutions and to help the people of Kosovo rebuild their lives. I guess that explains why there's been numerous instances of NATO troops standing by and doing nothing as KLA supporting thugs destroy Serbian Orthodox churches, but I digress. Much remains to be done, and it is important that the international community, in particular the United Nations and European community, it's the European Union these days, Stephen, continue efforts to bring about a lasting peaceful future for Kosovo and the region. And Australia wishes the government of Kosovo well in the tasks ahead, blah 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 blah. Oh, here we go. Ensuring the rights and safety of minorities as well as protection of cultural heritage sites must be key priorities for Kosovo. Okay, what's wrong with this picture? Well, I have to tell you people, particularly my Australian viewers, Stephen Smith is lying to you. It is simply inconceivable that the Foreign Minister of Australia, with the resources of ASIO, ASIS, the Defence Signals Directorate and numerous other intelligence gathering services, could be possibly so ignorant of what's happening in Kosovo to, issue a press release like that. If you look in the description column, which incidentally in future will also hold links to other episodes in this series, when I get around to making them, I provide plenty of links to articles on what is going on in Kosovo and what has been going on, and the politics behind why NATO bombed Serbia in 1999. There are numerous articles under the title Crime, Terror and Racism, What NATO and the UN Have Wrought in Kosovo and Macedonia. Also an article that's from the website The Emperor's New Clothes, and from the website Historical and Investigative Research, there are articles. The Serbs were not oppressing the Kosovo Albanians, quite the opposite. Another one, The Road to Jenin, the Racak massacre hoax, and those whose honesty it places in doubt. Helena Ranta, NATO, the UN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, the Associated Press, and Human Rights Watch. Human Rights Watch being that George Soros-funded pseudo-humanitarian organisation. Another one on the freezer truck hoax and how NATO attempted to frame the Serbs, or how they did frame them. And to get some idea what's going on in Kosovo today, there's an article called To See Where Israel Is Headed, Visit Kosovo. Now, there's simply not enough time in this video to go into all the details of what's been happening in Kosovo, and also the fact that it was the whole NATO assault on Serbia, etc., was based on a bunch of lies. But I'll just leave you with a bit of a thought experiment. The Serbs, who were told under Milosevic, were supposedly persecuting and genocidally ethnic cleansing the Kosovo Albanians. Now, it seems to me that genocidal ethnic cleansing is not something that's easy to hide, particularly when you've got global superpowers with the resources of satellites, etc., monitoring them. If there is evidence that any genocidal ethnic cleansing occurred in Kosovo, there would be plenty of pictures, wouldn't there? But guess what? They don't exist. Why not? Because it didn't happen. To show you how cynical this Stephen Smith character is, I'll point you to a link to the ABC, that's the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's website. Government urges calm over Kosovo independence. It says, Foreign Minister Stephen Smith has asked Australians with strong views about Kosovo to show restraint. It says here, Australians with Balkan backgrounds are already debating Kosovo's future, and Mr Smith is urging them to be respectful to each other. It also says here, the federal government has formally recognised the independence of Kosovo, but other countries, including Russia, are strongly opposed. We know that in sections of the Australian community, attitudes towards the independence of Kosovo are strongly and firmly held, he said. Whatever views are expressed should be expressed by way of restraint, so as to ensure that all persons' views in this matter are respected. Now, what's wrong with this? Well, think about it. Putting aside the politics and the real politic behind all of this, it's openly admitted that this is a controversial issue. It says Russia is strongly opposed, and apparently, supposedly, China is too. So in other words, this is, a controversial issue, but Australia, 2 days after Kosovo, declared its independence, recognised these people. Now, when I say these people, I'm not referring to Kosovo Albanians per se, I'm referring to the KLA. Basically a bunch of drug-dealing, human trafficking, Islamo-fascist thugs who have wreaked havoc in Kosovo, and have been since the 90s, at least. And there's simply no way that Stephen Smith couldn't be aware of this. And just the very sneaky way he says Australians with Balkan backgrounds, and we know that in sections of the Australian community attitudes towards Kosovo are strong. He's obviously referring to Serbian Australians. Okay. Now, what can be done about all of this? I'd refer you to the website saveoz.info. It's still under construction. There's still much more to be done on it, but it has basically been put together by various groups of people, including like the Community Law Resource Group and others. You'll be able to read all about that on the site. And it exposes various legal and political tools which Australians should be aware of, but have been deliberately kept ignorant of, including the true relationship of Australians to their so-called representatives in Canberra. In particular, again, the links are all in the description column. I'll direct you to a section on how to actually express your will to an elected representative, and also provide a link to various example my will letters. So writing a letter to your MPs and various other people isn't that hard. In fact, here to quote a guy called Arthur Cresby, the late constitutional researcher, it is your legal duty and obligation, and yours alone, to keep your members and senators fully informed at all times of your will. That is your true lawful relationship with your members and your senators. So I would urge Australians, and in particular Australians of Serbian background who do feel strongly about this issue, because it is important, to look into this and utilise these tools. I can imagine that many Serbian Australians are feeling pretty isolated at the moment. Now, one of my bits of humble advice to them is, when discussing this issue in the media and so on, don't just simply focus on Serbia. Explain the nature of the regime in Kosovo and what it's related to, such as the Croatian Ustasha and all the various other regressive forces in that region, and how that this is a threat to Western civilization. Frame it in those terms. Then it'll be that much harder for the pathetic Australian media to frame you as a bunch of crazy Serbian nationalists who don't belong here or whatever, because that's what they did back in '99. So anyway, that's about it for now. I hope to be doing far more videos on the pro-Islamist and anti-Muslim agenda of the Australian establishment in the very near future. But for now, that's plenty of information and plenty of links to tools that you can use. So, please use them. Do it.